Here we go. All right, welcome back, folks, to another episode of Beyond the Inflection Point with Marion Street Capital. With me today is Grant Bishop, founder and CEO of Silent Falcon. Grant, tell us, let me start very candidly. So there seems to be this perception out there that entrepreneurs are, 20, 30 somethings, run around Silicon Valley, quote unquote, changing the world. I was not an entrepreneur at that age. I'm a little bit older. I get the sense, you might be around my age here. So tell us, how did you wind up an entrepreneur at this stage in your career?
Well, I'm sort of surprised that you think I'm an old guy. I mean, I thought I was coming across with sort of the Brad Pitt look. Anyway, I've always been a data guy since the very beginning. So, always been innovative. And I mean, I can go into a little bit background. So when I was in college, Reagan's Star Wars initiative, and for the youngsters in the crowd, that was one of our presidents a while back. And he wanted to put up the ability to not allow missiles to penetrate the United States. So I was in a small company, and we had to figure out first how to look at foreign satellites to figure out what they were and know if they're good or bad and what they were doing. And so I helped develop a lot of capabilities there that ultimately led to seeing from the ground what a satellite was with cameras, and then turning that into the ability to fire a laser at a moving satellite, and doing all the things like firing a laser beam incoherently so that the atmosphere would bring it back together at the striking point. So all those kinds of things excited me. That was my college days. And then, but I had a true love of flying, so I became a fighter pilot. And I was what was called a Wild Weasel. So I would take out surface-to-air missile sites. So if you were watching television a few years ago with Shock and Awe, that was me out there doing stuff. And from there, I went back and rejoined that company that was shooting at satellites after I left the Air Force, after a 20-year career. And from there, basically, my job was to innovate and create things. And I've always enjoyed that. It's kind of a history of our family doing those kinds of things. So I've always felt like, your mind is always that of an entrepreneur or whatever it sort of cages itself to in life. But your body kind of decays around it, So I've always been excited and always trying to stay up to date on the latest technologies.
So, Grant, I mean, this sounds like the modern day video gamer's dream. You go to college, you play with lasers, and then you get to blow things up as a fighter pilot after that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love traveling the world. My wife and I have been married 35 years. She's gone everywhere with me. And it's one of those things that if you just sort of pursue your dreams and work hard, I think you eventually get there.
Okay. So I see how the passion for, let's call it exciting pursuits, lasers and fighter jets, and alongside a passion for innovation, led you to an entrepreneurial seat. Tell us, what are the kind of specific events that conspired to create Silent Falcon?
So I wasn't actually the founder of Silent Falcon. So
Okay.
in 2010, Silent Falcon was a spinoff from Bye Aerospace, BYE. They make basically electric airplanes like Teslas in the sky. They spun it out, noticing that there was a need for long-range electric solar-powered drones. They created a great product. It was called Silent Falcon. And so that's how the name came about. So we're actually, the company name is actually Bye UAS Technologies, but it has become doing business as Silent Falcon. Everybody loves the name. Now in parallel, so from 2010, they were developing this aircraft and competing with companies like Boeing and things like that in the drone industry. Um, and after I left the Air Force in 2005, my job was to take one of products and create them into commercialized products. So one of the first things I did is I took a millimeter wave radar and changed it so that it could see what was happening to the surface of runways, which the FAA was very interested in because of the Concorde accident. And so did that. And from 2006 to 2019, when I joined Silent Falcon, my job was spent traveling the world, helping airports improve runway safety with these technologies. And so in 2019, Silent Falcon contacted me. They were looking to expand and grow. And when I saw the product, I said, hey, this is a great product and what you want to do, but I think there's something better. As I traveled the world, I would always have the airports come up to me and they'd say, hey, I love the technology. Can you do this with it? And so, the tech side of me, I'd always paid attention to AI. I knew that was going to come along. So back in 2019, when I was being interviewed with Silent Falcon, I said, look, if you brought me into the company, I would move away from building drones and I would take the drones and use them to digitize not only airports, but all different parts of infrastructure in the world, use AI to replace the way we're traditionally doing inspections and go from there. And so that's what we did. I went to the FAA after they hired me and I said, hey, I can solve all these problems for you. And they said, great, but it takes a long time in the FAA to actually get things approved. And it's taken us about 5 years to go from, when I first showed up, they thought I was a witch and wanted to burn me. Like, oh, come on, what is this AI stuff, But we evolved, and since that time, we've got about a 1.5 petabyte library of an AI library of very boring but very critical data sets of infrastructure. And everybody knows AI right now is large language models and those kinds of things. There was nothing existing for doing what we wanted to do, so we had to create it. Mm-hmm. So once we created it, we worked with the FAA to show them that we can actually replace the way they're doing it. Now, you would think that was pretty easy because this actually is what they use to.
Right. I've seen those out there.
For roads and runways, they get people out there to walking around measuring things and taking notes. So it takes them 9 months to assess an airfield. We can literally do it in the data captured minutes, and then a few days later, we can provide the data. So it's a radical change, but it makes it more safe because when they do it currently with the wheel, they only look at 10% and then guess on the other 90.
Oh, so God. Right.
The budgets are wrong. The performance and safety are all wrong. So it's taken us, though, 5 years of working with the FAA to prove across 85 different measurements that we can do it. So in March of this year, they finally approved everything we do. So what that does is it really opens the floodgate for us, because now not only is our data approved, our AI is approved, but if an airport goes to use our services, they get grant money that will pay for 90% of our services.
Oh, well, that's
a
lovely equation.
Really opened it up. And guess what? We're faster, better, cheaper, all those things than the current methodology. And so right now, this morning, in fact, we're going through looking at our forecast because we had anticipated sort of a normal growth, right? But since that moment in March, they've not only made it like, hey, you can do this stuff and get money, but they've also put us on what's called the Airport Data Information Portal. Mm-hmm. So that's like Amazon for airports. They can just go there and literally in 5 minutes order up what they want from us and get it approved. So it makes it really frictionless. And so now what we're doing is now getting into that inspection cycle, because they need to inspect the airfield twice a year. And we were working our way up the food chain. And 90 days after we got this approval, DFW contacted us and said, we are going away from the way we used to do it. We're going all digital. So we've been working with DFW to get ready to scan them. 2 weeks ago, we won the U.S. Air Force contract for all their worldwide airfields for 25 and 26.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a
They put our
tremendous
they
win.
put our specs into the RFP.
Hmm.
So that was another watershed moment, because I don't want to just get market share here. We want to dominate this market. And other good things have come up for us that we are now in that phase where we're at the inflection point of accelerating.
Yep.
We've proven our point, but now we are accelerating. So lots of exciting stuff, and hopefully that answered your question.
Well, we love inflection points here at at the Beyond the Inflection Point podcast. Grant, so take us through how Silent Falcon captures and delivers data to the airport. You use drone technology to do that?
Yeah, so we first used the Silent Falcon drone, right, when we first did that, but it was, it's a more expensive drone. So the FAA said, hey, this is fantastic, but we would like you to be able to use anybody's drone.
Mm-hmm.
So we became drone agnostic, right?
Okay.
So in what we do in 4 basic steps is we digitize the airfield, and we do that with very specialized aircraft spec cameras that are hung on a drone. So we really don't care what drone it is.
Mm-hmm.
But we've received a patent for this process that I'm describing. We then analyze using the AI that we've created, and it analyzes using global standards. So what we use here in the U.S. can be used anywhere in the world. We then visualize it. So we provide situational awareness to the user so that you have literally tons of data, but we give it to them in an easy to use and the tool that they can hold in the palm of their hands on their phone and decide, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And then as that data evolves, we help them reduce their cost by literally 50 to 80% because they've suddenly got a very accurate budget on how to maintain and repair their infrastructure. But then we start to help them monetize the infrastructure, because all the data that we've been collecting on the wear and tear and operational then fuses together with, hey, this is what you're doing now. This is what you can be doing, because we can pick and target things that they need to do to bring in more money-making revenue from either aircraft or visitors.
Okay. Repeat that sentence one more time about the monetization.
So the boring side of it is that we've told them, here's your infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Here's its condition based on a global standard, based on all these tools. This is the academic tools. This is the way it's going to degrade.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we then say, but those are academic profiles. We're going to tell you what your actual degradation rate is by taking in what's happening operationally day to day, weather, traffic, loads, all of
Yep.
it. We fuse that in, and then we give them a predictive analysis to say, you know what, in fact, your pavement's wearing better. But we have data that says, like for an aircraft, we measure the aircraft coming in with the FAA feeds that we have, and we say, hey, these airplanes you're attracting only have 40-gallon gas tanks. Why don't you attract these aircraft that have 400-gallon gas tanks? And so giving them little tools and tips on how to change and adjust things, we can actually increase their traffic fourfold, which turns into revenue from fuel sales or from parking fees or hangar fees or whatever the case may be. We let them know, hey, these are the levers you can pull that will change things. And so we can analyze for them, and we just essentially, I don't know if you use Peloton, but
Sure.
Peloton, it's just a bike or it's just a treadmill. But man, these people are talking to me, telling me how to get better. We're the Peloton for airports. We tell
that's super interesting.
how to get better.
Okay. Do these airports have executive teams? Is that who's using your product?
So the answer's yes, but
Mhm.
they have different levels of executive teams. So there's two critical people at the airport: the manager who's doing the day-to-day operations, but also the owners. The owners can be cities, they can be corporations, it varies. It changes when you go outside the United States. So we try to suit both their needs with the same data. The airport manager wants to know how to operate efficiently, but the owner wants to know, hey, is it being managed properly? Is there something I can do? How do I want to grow my airport and help the economic development? So that's how we help out. But there are like 30 large airports in the US. Those folks are, top level business leaders. There's 19,000 airports in the United States alone. So you get a whole array of what kind of decisions and levels of leadership they have at the airport. Some people just want to get rid of the airport, right? So we measure all those, but the really exciting thing for us is that urban air mobility, you hear about it all the time.
Mhm.
All the little airports are going to become super, super important. They were the government back in the 20s and 30s wanted to put an airport within 20 miles of every US citizen. And so that's why we have so many airports. It was for the postal delivery.
Ah, okay.
But the infrastructure is there now that we can exploit things like electric aircraft, hydrogen power, all these things. That infrastructure is there, and now we're going to be able to switch it on and start to use it.
That's something really fascinating that I don't hear a whole many folks in venture talking about.
That's why we're having this chat.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Grant, this is quite a pivot that you've helped orchestrate for this company that's not a typical sort of founder-led startup, right? It's a corporate spinoff. You took it through, it sounds like you took it from basically a drone manufacturing and selling company to one that is now manufacturing a process and software and selling that process with the software with some expertise to this.
Yeah, I would say we're pretty much an AI company, but providing we can analyze just about anything. We've been teaming with people like Oracle that we provide them the nuggets and the analysis that other people haven't thought about and are able to use their systems to do it instantly. So, in fact, right now we're doing something with Oracle right now where, um, as I told you, traditional inspections take 9 months. Over
Mhm.
that 9 months, uh, lots of stuff can happen that makes the pavement worse. So by us bringing it forward a month, to taking 30 days, that's like light speed. But with Oracle, we can do it instantaneously now. It's really just computing power.
Right.
So
Okay.
we can even we've done some stuff where we put it onto the drones where we can analyze quickly. And it just boils down to computing power and how much somebody wants to spend to get the answer.
That makes sense. Okay. What is your pricing model like for this kind of unique market?
In the early before FAA approval,
Mhm.
they were paying out of their pocket to get it, right?
Right.
So we made some great deals, but the way we looked at it is that we had to build the library. So
Mhm.
any money we got that would offset our cost of building the AI library was beneficial to us. So now we've gone from literally, hat in hand going to the airfields to now we're pricing ourselves at the market rate for what they're charging 10% of an inspection. So we know that there's still upward value of that, but we want to knock out every traditional inspection first, and
Yep.
then we'll start to gain. Because the other part that I didn't really talk about is that once we digitize the airfield, there's
Mhm.
about 15 different inspections that are required.
Okay.
With a wheel, you get one. With us, you get them all. So we can just dice and slice the data and give it back to the FAA how they need it.
Okay. It sounds like a super valuable product and service for this market. Um, what's the biggest challenge in going to market to this market?
The hardest thing we do is the data collection.
Okay.
everybody sort of thinks, somebody shows up in a Hawaiian shirt and flip flops and flies a drone around, and that's not what happens because we never shut the airfield down. We interact, and our chief data officer, Valerie Soar, she was a former A-10 pilot, and so she integrates the entire data collection so that there's no shutting down of the airfield, which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
The other part of it, though, is we've started experimenting with how can we want to scale across the world. So we've been in 6 different countries. We've gotten there different ways. The one that's most interesting to me was that we recently trained the Royal Australian Air Force how to fly the drones. We actually did all the planning and everything, and then just sent them a kit and said, here, go deploy, do this, capture the data, send it back. And we're processing and delivering that data next week. But that shows us that we can go anywhere in the world. We don't have to go there ourselves. We can train others. And so we're looking for those kind of deals. We're talking to engineering firms. We're talking to different folks. How do you want to license from us? How do you want to do this? And so our COO, Jennifer Cotter, she's looking at all those models. And the 3 of us have worked together for a long time. Val collects the data. Jen figures out how we monetize it. And so, and I'm sort of the mad scientist in the middle that makes it all come together. And we are figuring out the ways that we can, we want big margins. And that's the great thing. We're trying to leverage the software to the max extent possible. If we don't have to travel anywhere and the data comes in and it goes out, that would be awesome.
Yep. Okay. So talk to me about your team. You mentioned it's you, it's Val, it's Jen. Who else is on the team these days?
So we've shaped ourselves very much like the military, right? So we have a top 3 in the military. The 3 of us are the top 3. So we let people know that, I may be strapped inside of an airplane going somewhere. The other 2 can make the decisions, right? So that nothing ever is sitting waiting for me to make a decision. We operate on a battle rhythm. So we have a morning meeting at 9 o'clock. We break up into the teams and we come together, but it's very brief and to the point. We don't sit around and have coffee and things. We get to the point and make decisions quickly. So it's us 3, and then we have a team of AI software folks, and then we have folks that help us do the visualization, and then we have an array of pilots that we use to go out and collect the data.
Okay.
So we kind of break up into those 3 areas. We got a great board that supports us and helps us make the links. That's how we got to meet. So the team, we keep it small. We're about 20 people right now, the entire company. But like I said, we're scaling. So our big investment now will probably be in salespeople and how we do that. We're already talking to the Department of Commerce and a lot of the economic folks on meeting people in the different areas. How do we get into that country, right? So we've met with a number of countries and figuring out how do we get in and out frictionless and make sure that we meet all the requirements and things. And tariffs or all these things are big deals. So, hey, do we take equipment? Do we buy equipment there? Because we're drone agnostic, it doesn't hurt us as much. So we've really tried to position ourselves for this moment in time so that we knew as soon as the gateway opened from the FAA, we could scale everywhere.
Yeah. And you're in Virginia. Is the core of your team in Virginia? Is anybody remote?
Yeah, we have a few remote people. We are now in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. Main reason is that I can get to the FAA Tech Center just up the road by you in Atlantic City. And FAA headquarters is literally 15 minutes away. So we positioned ourselves here. We were originally in New Mexico, but when COVID hit, we really started to get challenges with that. We had to make a decision. So we got here. We have people in Salt Lake City. We have people in the center of the U.S. in Kansas City, and here. And so the main focus there is that the way that the airports are divvied up, those three areas plus the FAA Tech Center helps us to get to where we need to quickly and effectively. We've worked with Babson College. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Sure.
So we work with them every semester and we tell them, hey, we've got this problem. We know you guys are wicked smart. Go off and show us how to do this. And it costs us nothing.
That's fantastic. Okay, so you guys, the team's been successful opening these floodgates with the FAA approval. You're anticipating, well, you're starting to experience some real demand, and you're anticipating a serious inflection point in sales. So you've got a need for building a sales team. Any other current challenges for the company?
We are, in the Air Force, we kind of did everything with nothing, right? So we have that same approach. So the three of us are getting together right now, and we're looking at, okay, do we continue to do things on premise with the processing with our own servers because it's a lot cheaper? Do we use the cloud? Do we do something in between? NVIDIA and a lot of the AI companies are now doing deals with one another. So one of my discussions will be with Oracle to say, hey, we've got 1.5 petabyte of data. Why don't we start working together a little bit better here? We'll use your services and, maybe you want to be a partner with us or something, right? But building the teamwork up so that we can cover the world without friction. That's really what we're trying to do.
Okay. Talk to me about the financing situation for the company. You guys have it's a little bit interesting and not traditionally founder started company, corporate spin-off, but you guys have taken at least angel investment, right?
Yeah. So that's interesting is the, when you pivot, you've got to do a whole bunch of things. So we're actually at the point now where we're getting on to pulley. We're going to get our 409A here probably within days.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as investment goes, that will help us because we've never really had a third party kind of some say, this is what you're valued at. It's always one of these, well, we think it's about this, right? I think the big thing that's of huge amount of value is the AI library. As far as we can tell from the FAA, no one else has got anything near it. And so that is really our brain of the company. But as far as investment goes, right now, we are seeking about $10 million to scale. One of the reasons that we're going through some of the things we're doing this morning on, hey, we got to change our forecast because there's a lot of things that are happening a little bit faster than we anticipated. And we don't, you don't want to ever get too far out in front. You don't want to be behind. And we know that, we're gonna face people that are gonna go, hey, that's a great idea. Why don't we copy that? So we've put a lot of moats in place, and I put my fighter pilot hat on, which is observe, orient, decide, and act, and we do that OODA loop really, really quick. And so right now we've got a number of people that have come to us that are interested in investing, and I think the really exciting thing is we focused on airports because airports have everything that you'll find outside of the airport. They've got roads, they've got tunnels, they've got solar panel, everything you can imagine. So by learning in such a small environment, we're able to, hey, we can scale up and do that. We got ranked as one of the top 5 road inspection companies in the world by a company called Abertis, which is a asset management company in Spain. They're like $6 billion a year. But that's what we want to scale into. And so when you ask me, well, investment and how much money do you need? It's really how much fuel do we want to put on the fire, right?
Right.
So when we talk to investors, I let them know, here's the amount of money we think we need right now, and here's what we want to do. But when you talk to these bright people, they say, well, have you thought about this, and have you thought about that, and these other things, and so you go, well, we thought about it, but we focused on this, and so you hear some really great ideas. Always listen to the smart people and say, we could go into that market, but it would take this. And so we've structured the company so that we can go into multiple markets and not change a thing, right? The AI we've made is focused on one thing, and we know how to do it really well, and we know how to modify it to do other things, but we would do that only as okay, here's our strategic plan. Here's what we're going to do. Right now, I want to dominate the aviation industry, be the go-to company for that. That seems to be happening as we talk to the Air Force and the militaries and the other airports in the world. Yeah, even our board chairman's in on the act. He was traveling in Europe, and he's out talking to airports, and he's already signed up. So he may be our new sales guy. We'll see. But that's where we're looking at all that balance, and really it's we're in the military. I was trained to take a small team, and go do a precision strike, but is also trained to go deploy across the world. And I actually ran one of the largest F-16 squadrons in the world during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And that, again, came down to data. It's like, hey, here's what the data says. What you've given me, it's not going to work. So here's what we're going to do to bridge the gap. So on the investment side, that's where we're kind of at. Is we've got a lot of bridges we can gap, or a lot of gaps we can bridge, I should say. And it's really we're open arms, but we want to do it smartly.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, Grant, I'd like to take the opportunity to remark that you're probably the third or fourth executive entrepreneur with a military background that we've had here on the podcast. And I continue to be impressed with how well these folks focus and execute. I think there's the stereotype around the typical entrepreneur where, he's a visionary, but he struggles to focus. And then he is best able to execute by hiring other people that are skilled execution type workers.
Well, I appreciate it. I speaking for all the military guys and ladies out there, we train really hard because we love protecting our country. And when we get a chance to then turn that into a business that we can see grow, it's exciting for us.
That's fantastic. So I in the audience certainly thank you for your service, and I appreciate what you're doing here with Silent Falcon. It sounds super valuable for your target customer base, as well as perhaps for larger society too.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. Grant, final question I'd like to ask you. What's the one thing that our audience could do to best help you and or Silent Falcon?
I'm sure most people will say, send us money. But actually, the most important thing is, and we've been focused on safety. For us, that's the number one thing. And I'll just give you an example. So for those of you living in New Mexico, Santa Fe Airport was inspected by one of these traditional inspection folks, right? They only look at 10%. And a jet hit a pothole on the runway. And you can imagine what that's like when you're going pretty fast. Luckily, no one died. But that's the problem with our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's someone you can reach out to, local airport, the people that do your roads, whatever, and just tell them about us, tell them to give me a call. I'll give them the Marion Street Capital special deal. But really, we want to improve the safety of the public as they travel, whether it's the airports or the roads, whatever the case may be. Obviously, that's beneficial to us, But ultimately, every time I go out on a runway, I'm looking around going, well, I know this one hasn't been inspected, and it's not, it shouldn't be that way.
That's a fantastic observation, Grant. I mean, I live in Philadelphia. I drive around and there's potholes everywhere in our city, right? So I can only imagine that the same perhaps level of attention maybe exists at a municipal owned airport. I can tell our audience from experience that I've attended Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce events where we've had speakers from the airport. So for folks who are interested in this topic and maybe want to demonstrate a little bit of proactivity, maybe touch base with your folks at the Chamber of Commerce and ask for the best way to get in touch with some of your local airport leaders. I think that's a fantastic suggestion.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
You bet. All right, so folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Beyond the Inflection Point by Marion Street Capital. Thank you very much, Grant, for all of your time and for sharing your experience with over the course of your career and with Silent Falcon, and explaining to us a little bit more about this company's exciting journey. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.